Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Keith with Positively Osceola, and welcome to another one of our Positively Osceola's Coffee Club Talk live shows. Glad to be here. And Peggy, of course, she's theming out with the brand today. Got it going on with the coffee cup. So Salvation Army, that rocks. How are you doing?
Great. How are you? How is everyone? Hanging in like everyone else, I think, right?
Yeah, it's the answer. I was talking to Tammy Combs last night. She's the teacher of the year for St. Cloud High School, and she's an amazing choral instructor for St. Cloud and so much more. And we had such a blast talking. And I said, we're not going to talk. We're not going to mention the election. We're not going to mention COVID-19. And it must have been, I think it was like 18 seconds later, I'm talking about COVID-19. So
I bet.
No way around it. Anyway, so we got a few people popping on. So why don't I go ahead and we'll make it official. So then I'll do the official welcome. So thank you for being with us today. I know absolutely that you are very busy, no question about it.
No, thank you so much, Keith, for having me. I really do appreciate it.
And I know you have a couple kids there, so that just adds to the
distractions always.
It's all good. It's all good. I think that's one of the good takeaways from COVID is that people are used to having a real life on video live happening behind their camera. So anyway, I just wanted to say congratulations for sure. I know that what will happen is we'll all end up in January before we know it, and we'll be moving on to life. And so I wanted to say congratulations to you. You did real well in the election, obviously. So glad you're still with us. And
thank you.
So what I was saying before we went live was I think is very true, which is from where we sit. Our office is in Kissimmee, and we tend to be talking, I think, I hear in the county anyway, we talk a lot about all the districts as we should. And I sometimes think we don't do enough trying to communicate with you so you can communicate maybe through us and everyone else talking about District 1, and which is obviously going out, the West Corridor, going into the tourism area perhaps, and the hotels and such. So maybe just, we're going to try to be more proactive and open ourselves up to you. If you need us to help once in a while just to talk, we'd love to do that, please.
Thank you. I really do appreciate that.
Cool. So why don't you tell us, so you're going to be in your second term. So why don't you tell us, as you look at District 1 and that part of the county, so how are things going? And certainly businesses have been affected, but looking forward, how do you see things happening in the corridor, and then how can we help you?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, I want to thank you again for having me on the show, but thank you for speaking about District 1. I think it's always very important. As you know, in my first term, I've always made it a point to always be out there and for the people and make sure that we kind of let everyone get the voices out from our district, because you're right, we're kind of like, sometimes not paid attention to. And as a resident, I feel the same way, right? So I always make sure that all the residents in this district feel the same way. And of course, I'm so honored and blessed to be representing this amazing district, which of course, I'm biased. I think it's the number one and the best district there is, but of course I'll be a little biased there. But yeah, so I'm just proud that I'm able to have the opportunity really to represent our residents again for this second term coming up. And so, there's just so much going on. As you know, District 1 is formed with not just amazing residents, but we have the bulk of tourism in this district. That includes from not just the attractions and the hotels and all the hospitality stuff, but we also have some amazing small businesses, from bodegas to lots of different stores, to the salons, to all of that stuff. And so we really, really are a busy, busy district when it comes to business, economic growth, when it comes to development in general, and tourism, people visiting. So this is where a lot of people stay within District 1. So I'm very proud to represent it. And so in saying that, I think a lot of people sometimes, they come and visit, which is awesome. They come see what District 1's about, because there's so many opportunities to go to different restaurants, to go to the different places here, the attractions and stuff like that, and the many, many stores and retail that we have for not just the tourists, but of course us, the residents. And so people come from other districts to come into this district to do that. And so we're thankful for that as well. But of course, we were talking very vaguely and a little bit about, COVID. And this coming year, I think it's going to be very critical that we continue working together to make sure that we address the issues of COVID-19. It is still very, very real, of course. Personally, I've had family members that have been affected by COVID. And so it's very real to me, to everyone I know. And so we just have to be very cautious. I'm very proud of the tourism industry taking the steps they need during reopening to be sure that our residents that visit them, as well as guests visiting them, are safe. And I think small businesses and big businesses, for all the things that they are really doing. I mean, not just from sanitizing and cleaning, but education and amazing videos. They've taken their time to create these amazing videos on what are the changes they're doing within their establishments. And if anyone's ever ran a small or a big business, they know all of that takes time. It takes effort. It definitely takes financing. And so all of that stuff is a great way to begin fighting together COVID-19. And I'm very proud of the residents. I think that many of my HOAs are so amazingly involved in their communities. And that is an awesome thing for me, specifically because it makes my job a lot easier, where I could communicate with the HOAs and their board and be able to see what are the needs immediately that they need when we deal with COVID. Not just bringing in more testing, but getting the right personnel to their meetings, getting the health department connected with them, being sure that they have the CDC information firsthand. I'm notorious about sending emails weekly, so I always encourage people, get on my email list. I am constantly sending out emails and updates, because whatever, I want to make sure the public knows, especially during this pandemic. Right. So as we continue, I think that's going to be not just my focus. My whole board is concerned about this. As you know, Keith, Osceola County Board, as a board, we've worked very hard to be sure that all of the county is taken care of, from providing services and financing with the CARES Act, to being sure that testing is being done, not just in one location, but in all locations all around the county, as well as providing the bare necessities of food and making sure many of our nonprofits are well stacked in their pantries. So I'm very proud overall, too, of our staff in the county, of all the work they've done, and of collaborative leadership that we've been able to do. And so all of that is coming together. We just need to continue it. We need to make it maybe next year at a higher level, getting out there more, doing some more with education, getting some more testing, and I'll be really happy when finally everything is done on the federal level with all the elections, because then it'll no matter what happens, we have to move forward as a county and we have to work together. So those are the things I'm looking forward to immediately.
Yeah, it's like, and Matt, do me a favor real quick. Everything sounds great. You look great, but go ahead and click that. You'll see a link that says Leave Studio. Click that and then click back in on the link that brings you back in, because you have a little bit lag going just at the end there. And so maybe just click Leave Studio and then click the link to get back in. It'll fix it. And I'll keep going. And one of the things we're going to talk about, I'm just going to, I know one of the things that's a passion for Peggy is, certainly creating a one-stop solution to some of the homelessness that's been a topic certainly for quite a while in all the districts, and certainly throughout Osceola County and state of Florida and nationally. And I know she has a heart and a passion for that cause and that issue. So when she gets back on, we'll talk a little bit about that. And that wrapped up or bounced off of what's going on certainly with an effect from COVID. So hopefully we should have her back.
Did I do okay? I don't. Did it
Yeah,
work?
you're doing good. Yeah, we're all right. It'll solid up here. And what I was yapping about for a second when you were gone. So I know that one of the pulses that you certainly communicate to people, one of the issues and one of the causes that seem to be greatly in your heart in your last term was, addressing the homelessness issue. And so that certainly hasn't gone away with the effect of COVID-19 on everything. So how do you, when the new term or the next term comes, so what do you do with that cause that is certainly still going to be in effect? Certainly homelessness is out there, lack of affordable housing, tough topics to tackle. Now with COVID, how much more difficult, and how do you approach that as a county now?
Yeah, no, thanks for that question. And you know what's funny is when I first started office in 2016, one of the things to me that was so important is to be sure that I represented District 1's agenda. And by that I mean is I've had more than a dozen town halls throughout the whole year, all over District 1. And one of the topics that came up in every single one of those town halls was homelessness and how we are dealing with the crisis as it was getting worse. And so that had to be one of the agenda items that I had to add due to the interest of District 1 seeing it. Because obviously being the tourism district, we see that a lot and we see the need firsthand. We have the small hotels that have families living in them. So we see these things. And so as residents, the residents wanted to see a change in it, which is why then I took it on and I said, we have to make a change. And in those 4 years, I'm proud to say that although we had hurdles and we had some disagreements on some of the levels with leadership, we were still able to get amazing nonprofits like the Salvation Army to come on board and create a one-stop shop, which is what they started creating just a year ago. And they found a location collaborating with other nonprofits, which is the best thing to do so that their services can go further collaboratively, and working with nonprofits and doing that. So that is kind of what started right before the pandemic was when they had the grand opening. And so then the pandemic hit. And now with the pandemic, we know, and I think anyone that puts this into perspective understands that we're going to have more problems when it comes to homelessness. That's not a, I don't think that's a question anymore, like it may have been before.
Right.
So we're definitely going to have more issues when it comes to even basic services that the people are going to need. Our residents are going to need, our families are going to need, our first responders, even our workers, everyone's going to need this help and assistance. I think all of us know at least one person who has been furloughed or has been terminated due to the pandemic. And so we are going to have this. And so now the questions are going to be, if we would have had in place a little bit more structure of the one-stop center, a place where people can go 24/7, they go inside the door, and then they are provided all the services that Osceola County has to have, but more importantly, all the services that all our nonprofits that do amazing work in our communities, what they have and what funding they have to help and assist that person walking in. And then direct them to that more importantly, while the Salvation Army providing that emergency need component that is desperately needed that still we don't have today. So I'm going to continue, obviously, working hard and finding that collaboration need. And I'll continue working with our nonprofits and making sure that everyone is collaborating and working together, because I really, truly believe in my heart that that is the best way to go. Not just financially, but also getting our services out there and getting a person help by working together as opposed to having the person jump from place to place to place. And so those are the things we are going to need. And I think you're absolutely right, Keith. We're going to have so much more issues with this pandemic, and we don't know how long it's going to be. And so I think reality has to hit all of us where we're like, okay, what are we going to do? Not just with the emergency need, component that we currently don't have, that the Salvation Army and other nonprofits are working on. But then also the current services we do have, the long-term need, how is that going to be also helped with, right? What else are we going to do there? And then the other efforts that we definitely have to continue is affordable housing. We have to continue helping with providing opportunities. I've been constantly advocating for different type of housing products because I don't believe that the old mentality of waiting for housing through the state level or the federal level is always the best way to go, because you don't get what you need in a community. So I like to think outside the box, and I like to work with nonprofits in collaboration with private entities that already have locations, that are willing to make transitions, that are willing to work collaboratively with the nonprofits. Where the county, which they really should not be managing, locations, but where the county could just help and assist. So there you are. You're back. I saw you gone for a while, but I was continuing to talk about it. So I was stressing, the importance of having the affordable housing component as well, but working collaboratively with nonprofits and private entities, not necessarily the government so much being involved, but making sure that connection can happen. The support system is there through the local efforts and through the local government. But we definitely have to start thinking outside the box more, as I've been trying to do the last couple of years. I'm hoping to get more support for that in my board and other boards, because, we can't keep thinking the same way. We've got to think different. And sometimes it's challenging when you have sometimes the same mentality, but we've got to start thinking outside the box. I mean, the pandemic is new to all of us. So it's definitely a issue that needs to be challenged and needs to be addressed differently when it comes to these issues, because it is something new and it's something very different. And so I'm looking forward to working on that more. And of course, I was expressing, having that emergency need component that the Salvation Army is bringing and trying to bring more of those services is going to be very critical, because people want to work. People want to get back on their feet as soon as possible. I mean, we have amazing residents, Keith. We have residents that work 2-3 jobs. I mean, they work so hard for a better life for themselves and their family. There's no reason why we can't be that support system, or have a nonprofit to be that support system, I should say, for emergency need, which we lack, and that is what we need, and then move forward to the long-term extensive needed that we have with some of the other nonprofits. So, and it's just working together.
And, certainly some of the concerns we're going to have long-term or even short-term are, the impact that we might feel, we're going to feel when it comes to the theme parks having to furlough so many people. It's a gigantic amount of human beings that are not seeing income streams in their life. And no matter what the level of assistance is, it's going to be hard to catch up, right? So those who are maybe on that edge already are certainly going to be exploring larger scale changes and challenges. So how do you see, I don't know how to put this. So in the, your corridor is up against the theme park areas and the tourism areas. It's flourished with tourism, or flush with tourism typically. So how do we help those businesses out there that are reliant on that income coming in internationally, when right now we're not seeing international income coming into the Central Florida area?
Yeah, so we all know that tourism is not just important to District 1, it is our number one industry in our county. It's our number one tax base. It is our number one in all those aspects when we talk about the financial needs that the county has. Mm-hmm. That's our bread and butter. And so the great thing is that we have been, through the CARES Act, been providing some assistance, right? And then, of course, on the state and federal level, they've been providing some other programs like the PPP and others to try and help some of the businesses succeed. But still, with that help, we still have seen businesses that are saying they may never reopen, right, because we still have the pandemic. Right? We're talking about 8 months. There's people that are trying to reopen in some of their businesses, and they still want to be cautious. They're still doing everything they need to do with the CDC recommendations. But all that takes time, takes money, and the employees, some of them, can't all come, because if it's a small location, also want to follow social distancing. They want to be cautious, right? They want the health to come first, which is great. But then that brings challenges. So again, we have to, I think it will be my job, other leadership's job, to be sure that one, we listen, because we need to listen to what the businesses need. And then two, how do we get those needs addressed? So we need to continue doing that. And I think we were successful when we asked, what types of grants and opportunities would you like? And we collaborated. The county collaborated with the chamber to release the grants through the CARES Act to be able to have not just 5,000, but up to 10,000 and people to apply, and make it simple for that application process, as simple as possible, as the federal government would allow us, right? So not putting barriers. I think that's going to be critical. The other thing is, some businesses may be thinking or rethinking what changes they can make to become successful, maybe in different, but just the same establishment. And so we need to make it simple for that to happen, not put walls or barriers in the middle, or red tape, as they say. Right? We need to make it simple for them as well. And I'll be an advocate for that. And the other thing I failed to mention during this pandemic has been the education component that we have schools like Valencia Manufacturing Research doing, Korea Source, which we just had a town hall that Korea Source and Valencia united with me to talk about the opportunities that they have, where people who want to work perhaps in a different industry, because now is their time where they can go get some education, right? Because they're not working. They can get some education and get some other type of career. And that's as short as 3 weeks or as long as 3 months or 6 months, and get something different, where the salary or the hourly pay starts at a higher level, between 15 and 25 an hour. So it's those opportunities that are coming along. That is a great opportunity. And we could talk about people switching from hospitality to something else, or those who just want extra training in the hospitality field they're in, so they can move up the chain of command even faster within the same industry, which happens all the time in the tourism industry. So I think it's great to bring those things more forward and for people to know about it, because the biggest problem I always have is like getting information out there. I put it on social media, I put it on the email list, I put it on video, and sometimes people still don't know about it, right? So for me, it's just very important and critical for people to know the information and share it with others.
Yeah, I think what happens in most organizations, we start working at 4 a.m. and we don't stop till midnight, typically on a 7-day-a-week spread. So what we see is, because of the algorithms and all the social channels, intentionally, they're not going to release to every entity in every organization. They're not going to release that vector of audience. So they're not. It feels good when we want to communicate, and you're doing a great job in that. But unfortunately, because of the social channels, the way they're developed and they have evolved, they're not letting everybody hear what you'd like to have them hear. But I like that you're using different means, spreading it across different ways, whether that be email or social. We'd love to help you for sure. Because of being a news agency online, they want that to be released, so we have a little bit wider spread for sure. But you're doing a great job. We appreciate you. So, and I think you really keyed on something big, which is the communication and the listening. I think we have never been in a place quite like this, like you certainly said. And so I think listening to where small businesses are, listening to where families are, listening to those people who are just absolutely clueless of what to do right now, because I'm sure that there are a lot of people that just simply feel whacked with life. It comes at you pretty heavy sometimes. No, probably not heavier than it is right now. So I love that our representatives would listen and try to communicate. We'll do our best to help you in all that. So is there anything you want to kind of close with and let people know before we call it a talk?
Yeah, I would love for people to communicate with me. I'm always available. My email address of the county is peggy.choudhry@osceola.org. Send me an email. Let me know if you want to be on the email list. If you want to join any committee, Keith, as you know, when I started office, the biggest thing for me was listening to the residents and to our public, to the people of what they want to see as changes happen and in the future. So I started these committees, and although we're meeting virtually, we're still meeting. And so I would love people to join it. I've got the student committee, which you know is one of my favorites. Kids from 5th graders through 12th graders. I love listening to our young leaders because they're not, their ideas are amazing. More importantly, they're so smart. Oh my gosh, smarter than I was when I was that age. So their ideas are very different, and I love to listen to them. They have an opportunity in those committees. Then, of course, we also have the President and Citizen Committee, where committee as well, that's met monthly. And then our Business Committee, where businesses, now is the time where you have any questions, any doubts. If you need issues, if you have issues with permit, code enforcement, that's an opportunity to also ask a question live to me or to even the staff that comes along to those committee meetings. And so that's a great opportunity. But I encourage people to email me questions. If I can't answer them, I always send it to whichever department I think is best. I've got amazing staff. My assistant Jessica is amazing. She's totally my right hand, and she could definitely help also directing people. If you have any questions, you could also call us at 407-742-2000. And then we'll be happy to address, any issues you have and then go from there. Now, of course, people also ask us about other constitutional responsibilities. And so I'll forward those emails to the constitutional that it belongs to, and they'll answer them back. So it's still okay to contact us, but we're here for you. I'm here for you. I love to hear the issues, the concerns, and the complaints. That's okay. And I love to forward them to the right people, and then make sure you get answers if I cannot answer them. So just know I'm available. I mean, I think I've made that a point, and that's something that residents loved, I was really easy to get a hold of. I can't do town halls live, obviously, right now due to COVID. We're just being careful, but I'm still doing town hall. So if you want to be on the list to receive emails and town hall appointments and dates, please let me know. We're still doing them quarterly. Like I said, we just did one with Career Source and with Valencia, and we had such great conversations about what to do and what they're doing. Right. We had one about Split Oak, for example, and about our nature walks that we have here, the areas to walk in nature. I mean, just all different types of things we talk about in our town halls. So it's not just homelessness or other main things, but it's also other things that people don't think about. So I welcome everyone to be involved. I think that's the only way that you'll know what's happening is if you allow us to send you emails, right? And then you allow us to answer your questions. It's the best way. And then tell everyone else. That's all.
Very good. Well, again, we appreciate you. Obviously, the things that you did in the previous 4 years certainly worked for the community and the district that you represent, because they re-elected you quite stoutly. So again, congratulations to you, and we appreciate that you would stop your day. I know you're hugely busy, and so thanks a lot for being a part of today. I'm going to make sure that we put your email address in, if it's okay with you, your email address. I'll put it in the text so that anybody who wants to go back doesn't have to search too far. They'll see that right in the body of the text of this post. So again, we appreciate it.
Yes, please do. They could call me or email me, or you can look me up on social media. It's everything Peggy Choudhry. So I would love to communicate.
Very cool. Well, we appreciate you, Peggy. And so Commissioner, thanks for being with us today. And
thank you.
We can do it again very soon. All right.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
All right. Again, this is Keith with Positively Osceola, along with Osceola County Commissioner Peggy Choudhry from District 1. Together, we're making a positive difference in and around Osceola County. Have a great day.